Namaste everyone. We are very grateful to have Gabriella Burnel'a here with us today. We're going to be talking about Sanskrit, the science and transformative value of Sanskrit. Gabriella ji has a Sanskrit degree from Oxford. She runs workshops in Sanskrit all over the world, including at the Oxford Center for Hindu Studies. And she has been exposed to Sanskrit from quite a young age. Gabriella ji, I'm gonna go straight to the crux of it. I've got a quote here from your website. The sounds of Sanskrit resonate with me. They make me feel at ease. They give me strength. And I hope to further explore more of the magic, power, and wonder that is Sanskrit. Can you walk us through your Sanskrit journey? How you got exposed to it? What compelled you to study it further? Tell us more about the magic.
Well, it depends on what level we answer this question, because obviously on some levels, some might say it was over, oh, microphone, yeah, we'll just turn this on, but you can still hear, right? No, really? Difficult. So Sanskrit hasn't yet given me super loud capacity with speech, but maybe that will come later. But yes, so it really depends on how we look at it. Some say we have many lifetimes. So who knows? If we have many lifetimes, then I maybe didn't start this lifetime. But if we're just taking this lifetime, I asked my mother when I first came into contact with the language, and she said when she was pregnant with me, she would go to Samskrita classes where she would learn how to write the Devanagari script, and as she wrote the Devanagari script, she would chant it with the other people in the class. So as a growing baby, heard the sounds, and then in childhood heard many prayers from the Upanishads. And one of the first classes we ever had at St. James School in London was from a great teacher called Mr. Warwick Jessup, and he taught us the Maheshwarani Sutrani, or the Shiva Sutras. And every morning in assembly, one of my founding memories of life was hearing him really enthusiastically sounding the A-I-Un, R-I-K, A-Ong, I-Ouch. And so it was imprinted in me from age 4 or so.
Wow, it's a long time. So you mentioned some of the hymns and some of the mantras. I did a short Sanskrit course 5 years ago, and I was particularly fascinated by how Sanskrit is much more than just a language, right? It has a beautiful connection with chanting, with even yoga. Is that something that you could maybe tell us a little bit more about?
When you say more than just a language, so I guess we could look at that statement, more than just a language, because what is the purpose of language in our day-to-day lives? The primary purpose of it is for us to communicate with each other, but as human beings, we're constantly thinking in words. And what is the power of words? They are sounds. And what is the power of sound? Every single sound has a vibration. What's the power of a vibration of sound? It has the capacity, even scientifically, to change things on an atomic level. So what makes Sanskrita more than just a language for me is it has a system of sounds that hold the capacity to change things, both on a psychological, emotional, and maybe perhaps you could say spiritual level, but also on a physical level, because many, many words in the Sanskrita language hold within their sound the ability for us to connect with the essence of that which they are describing. So, for instance, take the word Ananda for bliss in Sanskrita. Means one who delights, one who finds bliss in everything. Ananda, Nand is that blissful state, Nandati. And when you're blissful, what might be the physical result of it? You might dance, you see. So you see one word, Nandati, which is rejoice, and it can express that. It might be through dance, for instance, but the very sound of the word holds that rhythm, that movement in it. Nandati, Tyati, Ananda. The words have this capacity to give you a certain feeling.
Now I know what you meant by the magic up front. Just for a layman like me, you've already touched on this. What exactly is chanting? What's the science behind it?
Well, I'm a very much lay person myself with regards to chanting, a beginner if you like, but when I hear chanting done by pundits, which is a great word, isn't it? Pandita. And you know, we use that word in English. We say on Radio 5 Live, it's always like, let's interview the football pundits. So there's Sanskrit in our everyday language coming up. But when I hear pundits reciting Samskrita shlokas, the Vedas more precisely, in the correct rhythm and meter, that is chanting. But before we even get to the correct rhythm and meter, before we even begin to chant, what is the prerequisite of chanting? It's the capacity to listen. Because sound has its opposite, talking has its opposite. In the world, everything is pairs of opposites. And what's the opposite of talking and chanting? Because chanting is pre-talking, if you like. It's mauna, silence. And in the silence, we can listen. And we could then we have the capacity as humans to tune in to the same state that the rishis were in when they were just in that state of mauna, listening, receiving the primal sounds, the sounds of the Samskrita language. And in that open state, in that state of being able to receive, tuning into the sounds, not just of Samskrita, but of the universe, even of you as a person. What's your sound, you know? Tuning into those sounds. That comes before chanting. And then you see, what's the state of the heart, even before we open our mouth and chant? Is it what hridaya, there our heart? Is it shuddha? Is it pure? Is it open? Is it willing? Is it without any expectation? And then we put into that open receptive state, we begin to chant in Sanskrit with this perfectly metrical system where the sounds touch all the different parts of our mouth and body, so much so that we're practicing internal yoga of sound. And then the chants themselves can not only have spiritual or psychological impact, but could help the digestive system, could help relieve muscle ache, whatever. They have infinite capacity.
Wow, I guess internal yoga is quite a powerful concept, and clearly can have quite a lot of benefits. We've got a number of people in the audience who work in very stressful professions, banking, consulting, law. So stress is probably an understatement. A lot of us probably go through depression, anxiety. How can chanting be used to mitigate this? How can chanting be used, leveraged as a tool to help us cope with such scenarios?
So how can chanting be used for our well-being?
Absolutely.
Well, I'd have to go back to the first step being to listen. So to find perhaps some chants you really resonate with and start with listening to them every day. And as you listen and receive, then you begin to learn that chant. As you begin to learn it, then you chant along with it. And then from many, many days or weeks or years of practicing chanting along with it, then we go into the meaning of the chant, just a short one. Having gone into the meaning, carry on chanting with the awareness of the meaning, and then allow the chant to do its work. But to just start with a very short, simple chant. And many of my friends from India, or friends who are in stressful situations, I wonder, do they use this great heritage to de-stress? Not sure. I'm not 100% sure they do, but you can begin with just daily practice, like with anything. But then you say, but I don't have time because I'm in a super stressful banking job. You know, I don't have time to meditate, and I don't have time to chant, and I don't have time for yoga. But obviously my teachers would always say, if you put meditation first, if you put your practice first, everything else will fall into place. There must be the trust that that is true.
Absolutely. So I can see how a perceived obstacle would be, I don't have enough time. But I've also seen, and this is speaking from personal experience as well, a lot of the times we feel apprehensive to try out a concept that we're not necessarily that familiar with, that we perhaps haven't mastered. What would you say to people who might be of that opinion, of that mindset, in terms of just incorporating something like this in your daily routine? It's fine if you're not a master. It's fine if you don't know the ins and outs of it.
When you say the ins and outs, what do you mean? Do you mean like the precise rituals that might go with it, or the pronunciation, or the...
Just the idea of doing something for the first time, where there are bits and pieces that you may do slightly different to the book.
And how would you deal with that?
Yeah, and how would you leave that aside if you still want to incorporate this in your day-to-day life?
Well, I would say that definitely might be an excuse people make. but so I'd have to say, because if I'm speaking about my friends who have Indian heritage, I know they have no excuse, because a lot of their parents have chanted these when they were younger, you know, and they've heard it many, many times in temple. Even if they didn't want to, they've heard it, you know. So in that sense, that would definitely be an excuse. My Western friends, maybe they have a bit more of an excuse, you know, because they haven't. So I would say, if I'm speaking to my Indian friends, there isn't that excuse. They do, many of them do know. But if they really, my Indian friends, didn't know the chant, they really didn't know any chants at all, then what's the beginning process? Then I would say, just sounding
I feel like I just want to hear more of that.
See, everyone could do that. Doesn't matter if you've never learned a word of Sanskrit language in your life. That's the sound of a baby, of a child. It's the sound of all humans. It's the first sound of the Sanskrit alphabet. It's the first sound of all alphabets. Anyone can do that. Sound has the capacity to immediately transform a space. And for many of us as humans, we have sound completely at our disposal, this amazing spiritual tool, this tool to help us. And just sounding even before Om, as a daily practice, even that for 1 minute, who knows what that might do, but we'd have to try it. And that doesn't take long, sitting down for a minute or two, sounding As
you say, starting is often the hardest part.
But you don't even have to. You could do it with me right now.
Why don't we? Why don't we? Let's. I think we'd be up for that. Why don't we have Why don't we end with the chanting session?
You see, he's trying to get out of doing it himself. He said, you see, this is the excuse. But we can end with a chanting session with all of us.
Yeah,
okay.
That would be awesome. Let me ask one question before that. We spoke about how chanting can be used as a spiritual tool. It's a form of internal yoga. Can you tell me more about how this also ties in potentially with meditation? What is mantra meditation? What's the connection between meditation and perhaps chanting?
So, why do we meditate? Most of us look to meditate to go from a space of full mind full of stuff, to a space of hopefully no mind. But how can a human being jump from a full mind to a no mind with no tool? That's impossible. So one tool that has been passed down through many generations is the tool mantra, a protective instrument for the mind to cross that bridge and then to allow us to rest. So how a chant would work through meditation, even before we look at bija mantras, again you could just take that sound ah, and you could just sound ah, ah, ah. That sound you could meditate upon if you wanted, and then experience the space that is left after sounding it, rest in that, and you would get plenty of rest to cope with the banking.
Now that you've given us a preview, I don't think anyone will let me off the stage unless we see the full thing. How about we end with a chanting session for everyone?
Okay, so we could end with a very simple chant that many of you will most probably know already. And it starts with Om. And when we sound Om, often in connection with chants, Om itself has a measure, because it's the A, U, M, and then Sh. So we sound Om with these 4 measures, like Om, Om, Asato ma sadgamaya, Asato ma sadgamaya, Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, Mrityormamritangamaya, Mrityormamritangamaya. The first line only, just take the first line. Asato ma sadgamaya, Asato ma sadgamaya. Lead me from what is unreal, the stresses of my banking job, to what is real, my eternal nature. But may I know my eternal nature whilst dealing with bankers, lawyers, dentists, doctors, taxman, etc. So we just chant this one line 3 times, and then we rest in the silence after the chants, just to experience the silent afterwards. Just the Asato ma sadgamaya. Asato ma sadgamaya, Asato ma sadgamaya, Asato ma sadgamaya. May all be happy, may all be without disease, and none, including you, have misery of any kind.
Thank you so much for that. Give me a round of applause.
Thank you.
Gabriella ji, I was looking, I was doing a bit of research online, and I came across some unbelievable videos of you singing mantras, shlokas. I think some of these were even, productions. Is there maybe one that you could leave us with just to cherish?
We could finish with a sample of one.
Sure.
Shuddhosi buddhosi niranjanosi Shuddhosi buddhosi niranjanosi samsara maya parivarjitosi samsara swapnam tyaja moha nitram madala sola panuvacha putram. Shuddhosi buddhosi niranjanosi Shuddhosi buddhosi niranjanosi Shuddhosi buddhosi niranjanosi. You are pure, Shuddha. You are awake, Buddha. You are taintless, Niranjana. So Madalasa said to her baby son, on reminding him of his true nature, beyond name and beyond form. She reminded him amidst his tears of stress, you are Shuddha, Buddha, Niranjana. Shuddha, Buddha, Niranjana. But we have to fully accept the truth of that, because we can hear it as words, but it still remains in the mental faculty. It hasn't been taken into the heart as experience. And the first step of taking it into the heart as experience is to say it. So if we finish, if I tell you on behalf of Madalasa, on behalf of, you could say Krishna, on behalf of Brahma, it doesn't matter, I'm just the messenger. But if I pass that message on, saying Shuddhosi, then you would affirm it, Shuddhoham. You say, yes, I am pure. Because so often someone says something to us and we're like, oh no, you know, like you are pure, Shuddhosi, and then you reply, Shuddhoham, Shuddhosi. This one you need
just
to take.
Just
and then you reply, Shuddhoham. And then you say, Buddhosi, and you reply, Buddhoham. And then you say, Niranjanosi, and then you reply, Niranjanoham. Shuddhosi, Shuddhoham. Buddhosi, Buddhoham. Niranjanosi, Niranjanoham. Shuddhoham, Buddhoham, Niranjanoham. Shuddhoham, Buddhoham, Niranjanoham. Shuddhoham, Buddhoham, Niranjanoham. Thank you.
I think we are on schedule, so I'm just wondering if we have any questions from the audience. Any questions at all for Gabriella ji?
How long did it take you to learn Sanskrit?
So the question is, how long did it take you to learn Sanskrit?
It's unanswerable because it's never ending. I feel if you are to decide to learn Sanskrita, it doesn't have a finish.
Any other questions? Maybe this side of the room?
I have a technical question. Shuddhosi, is it like... is
You have a
it
mic?
like the you verb, like is used for ati or ami is for me?
Yes.
For the third person, is it the dual? Is it the second person singular?
Yes.
So what is the sandhi here? Can you just explain?
Shuddha or Shuddhaha with the Visarga is just pure person. In theory masculine, but the masculine can be used for all. And then when that meets an Asi, which is you are, the Visarga turns into an O. So the Shuddha Asi becomes Shuddhosi for ease of pronunciation.
So Asi is you are, Asmi is I am.
Asmi or Aham if you want to really just be that state. Asi and Asmi are more verbal, and Aham just as the pronoun, simply I am. So in a more mantric perspective, you would use Aham.
Any final questions? This side of the room? Priyaji? No? Well, on that note, thank you very much, Gabriella ji. It's been an absolute honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste. We hope you enjoyed this Chitti Media content. Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.